Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's Uncle Benny here with another edition of Uncle Benny's Creepy Campfire Stories. And it's a little late in the day. I want to I wanted to keep with this the Sludge report reframing, and I'd like to do this very early in the morning, but this is sort of not on the top of the stack. Other things come first, and nevertheless, it's important. And I'm going to try to continue this on a daily basis. So we're going to go through briefly. This won't be a long video, I hope. I got to keep on trucking, and I want to just make a brief pit stop here and get this out, crank it out, okay? So we're looking at the Drudge report, and for June 6th, Thursday, 2019 AD. All right. So first thing we're going to do is something I wanted to do the other day, and actually, no, the second thing we're going to do. So first thing I want to talk about is, let's look at the headline here. Now, I don't know what you call this little, sometimes they put something up in the corner, little it's a byline, but it's above where a byline might be. You know what I mean? It's like, it's part of the headline space, but it's up here. So maybe it's on deck. I don't know. Anyway, so let's look at it from here. This is the headline. Got Nancy Pelosi, Speaker of the House. Pelosi wants Trump in prison. All right, let's forget the headline for a moment. So let's look at this creature. And what is she doing? It's easy to look at this, and we've seen her up, speaking before this also, notice the angle up towards her. She's above, just like a judge sits above at a desk. That's all on purpose, okay? So she's put in this air of authority, and then she's got her right arm fist raised, okay? Now, this is important. This is pretty important, and it'd be very easy to not think about it, right? So we're looking at this, okay? Let's go over here. I got my pen ready, so we can do a few things. Raised fist, okay? You could argue, oh, well, it's just a gesture. People do that. No, let's look a little deeper, because I'm telling you, there's nothing that you are shown, virtually nothing. They're not perfect. They're human beings, okay? However, almost always, especially if it's some kind of symbol, a raised fist is a symbol. It has a big meaning, okay? So let's go through here. A raised fist or clenched fist is a symbol of solidarity and support. Okay, well, that sounds universal and sounds, a human thing. Everybody can do that. Well, is that what this creature's doing? Remember, she's head of the liberal, the Democrats and all this, she's Speaker of the House. Raised fist was used as a logo by the industrial workers of the world. Oh, well, who are these people? Labor union. Okay, let's keep going. And it's been used for a lot of things, okay? Here it says for an anti-fascist salute. Oh, that sounds good, doesn't it? Well, let's just move on down, okay? We're not going to read the entire thing, obviously. So a hammer and sickle combined with the raised fist is part of the communist symbolism. Same fist combined with the Venus symbol represents feminism. Okay? Combined with a book, it represents librarians. I did not know that. So I think we can, I'm an odds player. We got to look at the odds, okay? Here's what it says, and I agree with this. The raised fist salute consists of raising one arm in the air with a clenched fist, like so. The meaning can vary based on context, like so. Okay? So, let's move on down. Looking for something I saw earlier. Okay. The black fist, known as the Black Power Fist, is a logo generally associated with black nationalism and sometimes socialism. Well, sometimes. Let's remember the context, okay? So yesterday, and I didn't pull this up, I happened to catch a video clip of, I don't even remember the names, guy, Buckle Looper or Hoople Duper or something out of North Carolina, I believe. He was at a rally. And he was a Democratic presidential candidate, apparently. I'd never heard of him until that moment. And he he gave a speech to, of course, Democratic, the Democratic base, and he's talking, and he says socialism's not the answer. He was booed off the stage. It went on for minutes and minutes till the end of his speech, I believe. He was booed out of there, booed, because he downplayed socialism. This country has been mind controlled and groomed through the public schools, mainly, largely, and the media, to embrace socialism. What is socialism ultimately? It's akin to communism. The powers that should not be would love the entire world to have a system sort of along the lines of what communist China looks like. Okay, you get it now? There's something called the totalitarian tiptoe, where things are done incrementally. You could also call it boiling a frog, where you turn up the water a degree at a time and he never jumps out until he's cooked. Same thing. So you're being subjected to this on a daily basis. Your poor children who have been abusively sent to universities to have their brains bashed out, figuratively, have their hearts stomped and hardened, figuratively. Well, somewhat literally, because there's no life in a person who believes these ways, and they're dead and they're hard. Okay. And it doesn't tend towards long life either, by the way. So anyhow, that's an aside. I want to keep this short. So that's the first thing. Again, I want to help you understand how I see the news, especially if you're coming to this via, you've seen me post things over the years or whatever, and you think, oh, he's a weirdo. He's a the pejorative conspiracy theorist. No, son, I'm a conspiracy scientist. I look at the evidence. Unfortunately, so many people I know, or let me put it this way, I hardly know anyone in real life that does this. They're out there. I'm not alone. Okay, they changed the headline, dropped it down, as I talked about yesterday, how these things will sort of filter down. Okay, she just got kicked over to this column. Just changed. 1,072,000 illegals this year. Okay, well, I don't know who's counting them, but that's a lot of people. And we could change the subject and maybe we'll get back to it, but I want to stick to my plan here. The fact is that this fist is meaningful. This picture, let's put it like this. This picture was selected intentionally. Why? To point out and to shock you of what she's really saying. And she's against impeaching the president, but it says Pelosi wants Trump in prison. Okay, I haven't read the article, but that's confusion, right? God is not the author of confusion. The fact that we're hearing that she doesn't want to impeach and now she wants him in prison, it's like, well, this is just confusion. Again, more uncertainty and instability being seeded into your mind and heart for your daily life, for your health, really. It's destroying you. The more you take in of this kind of stuff, the more it's destroying your heart and soul and your mind, your faith, everything. It's evil, okay? That is evil. So at any rate, you could say I'm making a mountain out of a molehill, but when you have a bazillion molehills, you've got a mountain, son, okay? Anyhow, so you've got this fist here. I told you what it means, and this picture was selected on purpose to, you're being told in symbols what's happening to you. It's disclosure of a certain way that is part of the witchcraft. It's an important part of the spell, okay, to them. So let's move on here. Another thing I wanted to do is, let me see if I can pull this up. Wanted to go through each thing. LAX hell, Los Angeles airport. Terminal evacuated morning after power outage. Okay. Fear. I'm going to make this bigger. Fear. Okay. This is going to be difficult because I've got to, let me just move this up. I'm going to start over and, hey, technical difficulties here. Moment. Okay. Fear. STD infections infections spread to 1 million daily. Okay, be careful in that public restroom. Fear. Okay. Historic number of illegals fled southern border. Fear. Record-setting 55,000 children caught. I don't know. Besides buying millions of diapers. El Paso Immigration Center dangerously overcrowded. Military personnel. Okay, I'm trying to scan through what's going to go. I mean, I could argue any one of these is fear. It's instability, uncertainty. What's it all mean? Oh, the money, all this stuff. New caravan of Central American migrants, illegal invaders. Okay, invaders. Mind control word. Undercover video shows employees brutally beating dairy cows at Indiana farm. Fear and loathing. Let's call that loathing. We're just going for fear right now. Let's see. Let's see here. Humans feel like machines. Fear. YouTube purges hate. Well, for some, that's fearful. That's a bad thing. It's control. Well, the EU can kill video streaming. I mean, this is like fearsome stuff that they're, the powers that shouldn't be are doing this kind of control thing. So we could call that fear. West Point cadet killed, 22 injured in training rollover. I would argue, I guess it's U.S. news, but that's really not even news, in my opinion. This just jumped. This page refreshes. Anyway, the goal is we're going to get a few dots up here, okay? That's all we're doing. This is sort of a no-brainer. Fear, okay? Pelosi wants Trump in prison. Fear. Algorithm allows to modify talking head videos of editing text. That's kind of frightening, okay? New surveillance tool coming to skies. Fear. Pervasive spying. Hyper-accurate detail. Fear. A lot of times they'll have these hyperlinks. They'll go to the same article. And why does the pervert Matt Drudge? Oh, maybe that's not fair. I don't know him. The homosexual Matt Drudge put like the same links with the different title. Well, it gets more. It makes it worse, right? Fear, right? Poll shock. More worried about fake news than terror. Well, this is kind of convoluted and twisted. I mean, should we be afraid that our priorities are wrong? Is that what that's about? I don't know, but it's fear, right? It doesn't have to be that a plane is flying into a building to create this sense of fear and doom. Press freedom and downward spiral across the world. Fear, okay? I'm not going to scroll because I'll lose all these dots. Look at this, all that is to create in you a sense of anxiety and fear. How could you read, even if you just read the headlines, which, by the way, is an efficient way to kind of get a sense of what's going on, or not, because this is not really what's going on in the world. This is what you are being programmed to believe is important. You are being programmed to believe. I say you. I don't say we, because I'm not being programmed. All right? I'm not. And you don't have to be either. Stop being programmed. Stop the madness, right? That's what this is all about. Okay, so let me move on. You may be a little disgusted at this video or my assertions or my attitude or whatever, but you don't know what it's like yet to walk through the world and people are zombies and they don't know what you're talking about. You're marginalized because you try to share with them anything about what's really going on or frame it in a way of that they're not comfortable with or that gives them cognitive dissonance. And you just feel that once. You get that puzzled look or that glazed over look from them, or just watch them zonk out or stop inviting you to their parties, to their house, to their to hang out, to do anything. You feel that once. You feel that one time, and you'll have to make a choice. Oh, have I gone too far? Or do I really love the truth? You'll have to decide. Okay, son? So let's move on. YouTube purges hate. Excuse me. I'm not sure I'm going to be able to get into all this. I'd really want to. So this is actually pretty important story because I'm putting this video on YouTube, right? I just said something about Matt Drudge being a homosexual, and I use the old-fashioned term for a minute, pervert. It's not that old-fashioned. I call them a pervert. Okay. Well, I will say that's not totally fair because I don't know him. Somebody can be a homosexual and they're not acting out, they're not promoting it. It's a burden they have. I get it. And it's something to be very compassionate about because that's a hell of a struggle. There's a lot of things um, more than just somebody's got a struggle. There's spiritual things that are involved. There's demonic things that can be involved. There's generational things that can be involved. There's socialization that can be involved. I mean, it's a stronghold. It's a stronghold. And people who are, the Lord came to set the captives free. And what are we captive to? Sin and death. And when somebody has a stronghold in their life, it's not just a matter of making a decision. Oh, I just stopped doing that. No, it's a besetting sin. It's something that's very difficult to overcome. It's confusing if someone doesn't know the way out, but it begins with Christ dying for our sins, recognizing, calling something what it is, calling our sin. I have sin in my life. I sin. I'm not perfect. I'm not Christ. I'm not Jesus. I don't walk in the Spirit all the time. You know what I mean? So I'm not a hypocrite in that regard. I have compassion for people who struggle with things. But my point is that he's being a player. Okay, whatever is, I see the manifestations of what this guy's values tend to be because he's the editor in chief, let's say, of Drudge Report. It's named after him, and almost without fail, there's always some kind of this difficult word to say, prurient, lascivious story dredged. You could call it the Dredge Report. Dredge Report. Dredged up from somewhere in the world, even if it's in some out of the way country, that is something having to do with some kind of sexual deviance. It's just generally there, and what's that tell you? Okay, why is that being thrust in people's faces who come here more to find out, what's going on in Washington or whatever, which, by the way, that's the art of misdirection. We're United States. How often do you hear about what's going on in your state government? Not very often. Why is everyone, when there's any political discussion, if anybody's willing to engage in that with a stranger or neighbor, why is it always about Trump or Obama or Clinton or it's all these things at a level that's really, you're hacking at the branches of evil, not the roots. Okay, you've got to get down to local government to really. Anyway, I'm making a. The point is that people come here to get information about what they think is important, but you rarely see anything on the state level on a site like this. I don't know of any other than your local news that's going to have an aggregate of your state goings on and the players involved there down in your state. Hey, did you know your state has a Senate? Did you know? Anyway, let's move on. So YouTube purges hate. I'm going to open this up. All right, I'm already past the length I wanted this video to be, but we'll just roll with it for now. Okay. YouTube to ban hateful supremacist videos. Okay, we're not going to watch the video, but this is important. I'll just talk about it. I don't have all the. Well, let me move on. Okay. YouTube announced Wednesday, that'd be yesterday, it would ban videos promoting or glorifying racism and discrimination, as well as those denying well-documented violent events like the Holocaust or Sandy Hook Elementary School shooting. So let's just break this statement down. Okay, YouTube announced that it would ban videos promoting or glorifying racism and discrimination. Okay, well, I just did, I guess. Maybe. I called the guy a homosexual. That's a bad word to people. Like, that must mean I'm a homophobic or I'm a hater. No, it just means they're homosexual, and my video is about framing the news in wisdom and the proper context, which is what's really going on in the world, which is this is God's earth. and he's got a plan, and we're in the times that we're living in, and we need to know the word of God. Okay. And the word of God still says homosexuality is sin. Now, I'm not saying somebody who's a homosexuality it's their because they believe most likely they could never change. It's the acting out, right? It's the acting out that where it gets kind of okay. I'm trying to move on, and I can't really expound upon that more than that. And I guess you could say that I'm being discriminating and I'm a hater and all this kind of stuff. No, I'm just pointing out it's like the guy who makes the Drudge Report is a homosexual, and he always puts like really lascivious stories, and he's peppered in there like 95% of the time. You'll find some smutty article. Okay, and anyway. So my point is this video could get banned, right? And that means that I'm being shut up and silenced, right? So you could argue, well, it's a private platform, this and that. Well, let me tell you something. The public libraries or school libraries, this is equivalent, in my opinion, to like a book burning. Like you can't read these books. We're not going to stock them. We're throwing them out because we disagree with them. The board of the library or something. Okay. Well, you could say, well, that's, publicly run and everything. Well, okay. I don't want to get into the debate on that, but YouTube is pretty much has a monopoly in a sense of hosting the medium of video information, just like the library pretty much has had a monopoly on hosting books for the last 100 years or so, until you got Barnes and Noble and everything. But I would say that a normal public library in a fair city probably has a lot more books than a Barnes and Noble even. So anyway, let's move on here. Denying well-documented violent events like the Holocaust or Sandy Hook Elementary School. Well, let me just make this video more bannable and removable, or my channel shut downable, even though I have 2 subscribers and 1 viewer, maybe. The Holocaust is a hoax. What do I mean by that? It means it's not what you think it is. It's not the 6 million Jews were burned up and were gassed and flamed up in ovens. It didn't happen. Didn't happen like that. The Sandy Hook Elementary School, now, I don't know if no one died, but there wasn't 20-some children shot up and killed just systematically, and several adults and all this in an elementary school one fine morning. That didn't happen. Now, how do I know that? Because I studied it. When they say well-documented violent events, let's just take the violent part out. Well-documented events. What they're saying is those denying what the media said. Well-documented. The video yesterday showed you the media, the story, when they're telling you a story. No, the day before yesterday when I talked about the Virginia deal going on, you could just go through 1 5-minute news story, and they could argue that was well-documented because that was pretty much par for the course of how they would cover something like Sandy Hook. Was it well-documented? Go watch it. No. It was a hit piece on your head. It was telling you what to believe using a lot of techniques. It's not well-documented, okay? I could tell you an article, I think it's called What Happened at Sandy Hook. You should go read it. Go read it. Look at the evidence. This did not happen, at least the way they said it did. Okay? Alex Jones, you've probably heard of him by now. He waffled and backed down and changed his really was put against the wall about his stance on Sandy Hook, and he was able to dodge and duck, and people who will believe he was saying that it didn't happen and that the parents were faking and all this stuff will believe it, no matter what he says. But he pretty much kind of watered those accusations down to the point where, he kind of was off the hook. He hedged a bit. All right. I would never back down. That's just ridiculous. You look at this, it is absolutely ridiculous. It's just ridiculous. You're out of your mind if you think that's what happened. You're afraid. Apparently, if you're in Germany and you say, they're hush hush. If you talk about the Holocaust, you have any questions about, you could go to jail just by talking about it. What's the same mentality towards something like Sandy Hook? People are afraid. Tell you what, give me liberty or give me death. I'm not afraid. What do I have to fear in dying? Nothing. You know what? There was a time before I was born, I didn't know I didn't exist. When I die, I'll be brought, just like I came out of nothing, I'll come out of death. That's where it's at. That's what I believe. That's the truth. That's what the resurrection in Christ is all about. So what are you afraid of these people for? Because they won't like you? Because you're going to be looked at a little cuckoo? Well, you need to realize what is cuckoo. What is cuckoo is believing a bunch of bullshit when you know it's bullshit. Wake up. All right, so let's move on. All right. Google-owned video sharing platforms, the latest series tech industry moves to filter out hateful and violent content. Already, so they're calling anybody who's like this, they're haters. It's hateful. Okay. And they're also throwing in, what is this violent content? So somebody who questions the Holocaust or the Sandy Hook Elementary School is now, look what they did here. Violent content. So they're basically, in a very subliminal way, associating people who are like this with being violent, right? Tougher regulation. Okay, you want to regulate people's opinions. It basically means regulation means making it against the law. That's what they're saying. Make it against the law to deny the Holocaust, or what I just said, hoax. It's not what you said, or it's not exactly what it's purported to be. That makes me a denier, right? Well, I'm not denying anyone who suffered or was killed. It was a horrible situation over there, but what exactly happened? Not what we're being told. I'll tell you that. How do I know? Man, because I've spent time reading about it, because I've spent time looking at the evidence and applying critical thinking to it, and not just what they told me in 11th grade history, and also told me, in junior high with Anne Frank's, the story of Anne Frank or whatever, or everything you've seen coming up through everything from Hogan's Heroes on television. The mind control is strong. It affects you all your life. You're programmed to believe certain events, and you start to feel like you know something about it without ever really studying it. Okay, all right. Let's see. So they're equating also. YouTube has always had rules of the road, including a longstanding policy against hate speech. So automatically, so see what's happened. Look at the progression here. So basically, denying the Holocaust and Sandy Hook, these were the ones that were named out. So this is makes it very important. All of a sudden, it's gone to hate speech. That's hate speech. Oh, you must hate the Jews. You must hate every Jewish person. You must hate every deli you go by. You must be a threat, right? You must hate the parents of Sandy Hook. You must hate children. You must hate everything. This is ridiculous. Again, this is mind control, right? Okay, today we're taking another step in our hate speech policy by specifically prohibiting videos alleging that a group is superior in order to justify discrimination, segregation, or exclusion based on qualities like age, gender, race, caste, religion, sexual orientation, or veteran status. Well, there's a lot to break down here, and I want to move on from this, even though this is a whole video in itself. The fact is there is one group that in their belief system, they don't allege, they claim that they are superior in order to justify discrimination and even murder, meaning they take people's property, they'll kill them to take it. It goes on and on. Okay, and that is the teachings of the Talmud. Okay, and those who subscribe to it. What does that mean? Well, you figure it out. Okay, does every person named a Jew subscribe to that? No. There's a lot of distinctions. Okay. Does that make me an anti-Semite? No, I love Palestinians. How about that? So there's another mind control word, anti-Semite. Okay, look, the fact is, who owns the media? Who really, by and large, owns the media? Who runs the porn industry with all their perversions? What is really going on in the world? All right, hate speech. Well, you know what? If you're just talking about what it is, I like to deal with the reality as it is. Look at read the, just start doing some homework on the Talmud, and you find out who is about exclusion and segregation and discrimination, qualities like, who based on race, caste, religion. Okay, you'll find out. Find out. Don't take my word for it. Hey, just I'm some cuckoo on the internet, right? But you look into it. You look into it and find out. Okay. Um, Read something like the Protocols of the Elders of Zion. You know, go read Henry Ford's essays. Henry Ford. You probably got in a car today. He had something to do with that, and he had some pretty insightful things to say. Go read about it. Where's he coming from? Okay. Oh, you can find out the protocols. That's all debunked, and no, it's not. All right, go ahead, read it, and you tell me if that's not what's going on. Go ahead. You know what? You don't have to believe me. I have no control over you. I have no power over you. I'm just telling you what I've found out. I'm sharing with you how when I read the news, I see what's another level, what's going on, and who's behind it, and what. Okay, so this might be painful for you to listen to. This might be just you're gnashing your teeth and shredding your, tearing at your garments, wanting to kill me. Well, you know what? You wouldn't be the first. Okay. All right. So let's move on. I haven't even read all this junk. There's no point. What do I need to really read? All I need to see is this. YouTube purges hate. Okay, so we're supposed to believe that they're a moral authority on what hate is. Well, hate in the Bible, hatred is equal to murder. Here's for the record. I don't want to murder anyone. I don't want to murder anyone who's even practicing. I'm to pray for my enemies. I'm to give them space to repent. I'm just saying that this is what's going on. And it's being masked as some kind of righteous move and all this. But what's being crushed is freedom of speech. What's being crushed is opinions that don't fit the agenda of those who wish to control, to exploit, to subject, to subdue, to murder, to kill. Why do I say murder and kill? Because ultimately, there's no use for those who are being oppressed. They're only there to serve those who are oppressing them, and they're expendable. That's what I mean. And history shows that those people, when they do rise up, they're wholesale slaughtered. Whether it's just a well, you could even look at some micro situation like that, like Kent State. What happened? The students were rising up and protesting, and some shots rang out. 4 dead on the ground. Let's move on. There's one more thing. This is like the main thing I wanted to get to, actually, but here we are. Long video. Okay. New HBO show to push envelope of teen sex, drugs, and male nudity. So, I haven't scanned this to look for other lascivious stuff in here, but why is this on, why is this juxtaposed with all this kind of world news, right? Because the people who are like, quote unquote, conservative, this is advertising for this kind of perversion. So this character, Zendaya, I did read a little bit about this. This is about teenagers who, let's see here. Go back up and, oh, they just took it down. Where'd it go? How about that? I'm doing this video and now it's gone. Just removed it right before your very eyes. Okay. I really doubt anybody's watching my video and that just happened. I'm not going to be like some of these people that are like, oh, I'm having trouble with our phone call. They must be messing with our lines. I mean, come on. Really? Am I that important? No. Okay. So it just happened. It just refreshed and, made room for other articles. Cause like, look, um, they just put this in here. That was a very big picture in there. This had nothing to do with my video and me just happening to be talk about it. It is interesting, but look, the world doesn't revolve around me, let alone this little expose. So anyhow, we don't need to be looking at it to talk about it. It's about teenagers. I mean, it would be nice to have the article, but I'd have to pull it up and stuff. Let me just go as far as I can, and maybe I'll end the video on this without getting too deeply. The thing is about teenagers who it has to do with trans relationships and their struggles and all these kinds of things, and they're advertising it here on the Drudge Report. Oh, they're telling us about it, or are they advertising it? I say they're advertising it. So the more you're exposed to these kind of things, the less sensitive you are to them, the less shocking it becomes, and it's the more normalized and mainstream it becomes. Now, am I against these people, or do I want to see them somehow harmed or marginalized and hurt? Not at all. It's sad. It's deception. They're deceived. They're deceiving their hearts. And there's lots of reasons why someone may be in that kind of a situation psychologically or spiritually, I should say. They're pretty much intertwined. So this, you know what, I really would be helpful to have the article. So it's about these characters that I read about, Rue, R-U-E, Rue, and Zendaya. And they find each other somehow. And I think from what I gathered, they had their own encounters, let's say, together. I think it's kind of them against the world at first. And, there's a plot line. I don't know it all, where it's going or all the little side stories. But the basic thing is it has to do with, sex, drugs, and trans and all this kind of stuff as teenagers. I mean, I don't remember the age, maybe let's say 16 or 17, I think. It could be younger. Might be younger. But how many teenagers really across the country are dealing with this? Well, more than used to be, because they've been mainstreaming it. And that age is a very confusing time for people. They're finding their identity, sexual identity, and everything. And some are taking cues from the culture as to which direction to go. And that's unfortunate. And that's what this is all about. Is to raise that less than 2% of people who are homosexual out of a population, because that's generally the statistic. That's any population, you're going to have a deviation around 2% or so. And I say or so, it could be 3, it could be 5, maybe some places, but like let's say 3 to 2% on average of human individuals who are homosexual. Okay. So it's a very, very small minority which wants to present itself as the majority, asserts itself as the majority. And that's upside down, it's not right. And a subgroup of that is trans. So what percentage is that? Well, it's very, very small. It's very small. And we've really been conditioned in the last year or two. I mean, it's gone on longer than that in other ways, but it's manifested really heavily that this is normal, that this should be accepted. You see, I would love to pull up pictures right now. I'm just not going to do it. Of, I don't know where this campaign got started or where it's going to end, but in libraries across the country, you'll find these trans people fully decked out in their lavish regalia, their makeup and stuff, reading stories to children. It's kind of weird. Even, it's just this odd thing that is being done. And there have been places where people protest it and everything. But there's an agenda behind it. So who is behind it? Where's all this perversion coming from? Besides, I could say, well, it's satanic, it's of the devil, and it is. But where's it all coming from? People have to be implementing this, right? Well, what kind of people? Which people? Look at the Talmud. Just look at it. Look into it. Find out what this Babylonian religion was all about. Baphomet, all these kinds of things. Just look into them. You need to find out. You need to know. Because when you watch the Super Bowl halftime show, when you watch, let's just leave it at that. When you watch stuff like that, they're telling you who they are. They're telling you what they're doing. They're telling you who they worship. They're telling you who's in control. Well, they're only in control as far as God lets them be, but you're in control of your mind. At least I want you to be. I try to be of mine. I want to be in control of my heart and mind insofar as I don't just believe the bull crap that's being thrust at you. And it's thrust at us all the time in symbols, and it's thrust at us all the time in subtext and context, and and it doesn't have to drive you crazy. I'll tell you what it will do, though. If you don't have a biblical framework and a trust in the Lord being in control and knowing that He loves you and He owns you insofar as you've given your life to Him, or you've asked Him to save you, and you want Him to direct your life and renew your mind and your heart and all these things. When you know that, then you're safe and you can rest. That doesn't mean you always will. I mean, this stuff will make you very anxious. But what did Christ say? Be anxious for nothing. And everything, make your requests known to the Lord in prayer and supplication and these kinds of things. Now, hey, this is not, I may sound when I rattle off a Bible verse or something like I must be some super Christian. I'm not. I'm not. Believe me, what's worse is to know this stuff and not do it, And I find myself in that position very often, daily, But again, I said yesterday, I don't care if you watch this video. I don't care if anybody watches this video. Yeah, I'm doing this for me. It's helpful for me to talk out loud when I read this and the things that occur to me in my heart. Well, I don't need to just let them swim by in darkness. I'll bring them out like this, put them out there. It's an energy exchange. And that's one reason too. I make music, and it's not that polished or anything like that. But for me, I just get them out in the air. Put them out there in the sunshine. I'll get more songs. If I just buried them or never wrote them down and recorded them, why would I get more? Right? What am I going to do? If you're given seeds, you need to plant them. If you're given talents, you need to use them. You got to exercise. It's kind of a law of the universe that you need to not be the Dead Sea, right? So that's sort of what this is about. Anyway, that's enough time. This is probably already an hour. I can't believe it. I hope it was interesting. I hope you found something out about it. And, if it disappears or this channel goes down, so what? There's other venues, there's, be on the right side of things, because in the end, the Lord wins. Okay? It's really that simple. It's just that simple. So, all right, make a great day. Don't worry about the news. I had a friend who just told me he got rid of his news apps and closed his social media accounts yesterday, and he's looking forward to a more peaceful life. Hallelujah. Good for him, man. That's the first person I've known that's done that. And I think that's a beautiful thing. Because you know what? He's taking care of himself, taking care of his mind. You're going to need time to heal. If you've been feeding on this filth for years and years, and it's filth. When they bring you a story of a bus crash in India where 40 children got smashed, it's filth. And what do I mean by that? Is that a horrible thing for me to say? Yeah, if you want to believe that it's a horrible thing for me to say. But remember what I always say, context is everything. The context I'm telling you that in is that they're bringing you that to give you a dose of doom. You get your dose of doom every day. You don't open your fridge and eat poop, right? So you open your browser and read poop. It's going in your heart, right? So, you know, think about it. And actually, maybe, I don't know what you eat in your fridge, but if you looked at the ingredients, there's a good chance you might be eating poop. And I don't mean actual feces, although, rat turds get into stuff. I'm talking about the ingredients, the chemicals, the genetically modified stuff. That's all part of it too. How much of your vital force has been compromised by public schools, by the generational breakdown? Because if your parents were exposed to certain things and they're passing that down to you, and this degeneration is continuing through the generations, you know it's how much of your life force has been compromised. What kind of vitality are you missing out on? And your thought life, and your energy, and your attitude, and the way you spring out of bed in the morning, or don't. Maybe you wake up and you're just like, oh, another day, no more problems. Hey man, I've been there. I know what it's like. But fight back. Want to talk about raising your fist? You raise your fist. You raise your fist to the man. Okay? You stick it to the man and start enjoying that feeling, because we win in the end. All right? We win in the end. Stick it to the man. And when you run across somebody who's working for the man, be respectful, try to help them see the light, that kind of thing. You got to just, have compassion on them. For as when Jesus was on the cross, again, I'll say Jesus was not his real name. When he was on the cross, he said, "Forgive them, Father, for they know not what they do." And we need to have that attitude continually. I need to. Believe me, stuff irritates me, but I have to say, Lord, forgive them. They don't know what they're doing, And, occasionally you got to go along to get along, and, be wise as a serpent. You don't have to. I recently, this is a gal in another country. She had an encounter with the police. It was on video. And boy, they were really acting very fascistically towards her. And she was within her rights, the way she was protesting them and everything. But she ended up being taken down to jail, and they smashed out her window in her car. She didn't want to give them her ID and all this stuff, and she really shouldn't have had to. But the fact is that escalated, and it didn't necessarily have to. And you got to pick your battles, right? I mean, there'd be other ways to deal with that could be a lot easier. But we all got to learn. And I'm not saying what she did was wrong or right. That's just what she chose to do, or maybe that's just how she's built. I mean, people are built a certain way. And anyway, all right. So that's enough for today. Make a great day. Be kind to people, and see ya.